7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have a sacred stone.
Oh, this is crazy, mother.
What's going on, guys? It is Mario Armani and I'm here with Luis Bajana of Cityview Design Build. He's the owner of 179 Gilbert, and we're doing our final wrap-up video just to talk about all of the good things, bad things, and how the sale went overall. Luis, thank you so much again for making this quick video.
Anytime, it's always a pleasure.
So guys, we're gonna keep this video nice and short. We're gonna talk about some of the things that happened not only during the sale, but also during the construction, that if we can go back and change things, we would have done that just to make everything go a lot smoother. So Luis, what's one thing that if we had to start this project completely over again, you would definitely make sure that you would change?
Some things that stood out definitely was, when selecting materials, more finishing materials than anything, because you can't really cheap out on the actual, structural work. But when you're doing the finishing touches, the flooring, the tiles, the type of paint you choose, all this kind of stuff, it adds up. Once you run your numbers, it can get up. It's probably one of your highest costs of build, right? The finishes.
And you, just so everybody knows, if you haven't seen the actual inside of this house, you can go to 179gilbert.com, and the finishes that Luis used in this house were unbelievable. You practically built this house as if it were for yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. That was the original intention for sure. So, once you, for example, you can shop around many different flooring stores, but once you really like something and then you try to compare with other products, at that point, when you really like something, the price almost doesn't matter. It doesn't. It just, you start to shop around and you're like, oh, cool, I can save, $2 a square foot on this flooring. But your mind always wants to go back to that original selection that you made, and I couldn't get my mind off it.
One of the things that you always said was, because I actually questioned Luis as well, the flooring that he actually put in the first and second floor of the house, he spent $12 a square foot for this flooring. I've sold $1 million properties, $3-4 million properties, and they haven't had flooring this nice. So when I saw the flooring, I said, Luis, why would you put such expensive flooring? And he said to me, at the end of the day, the difference between the flooring that I wanted and to get flooring that was just okay was probably a difference of maybe $3,000 or $4,000. So why wouldn't I spend that extra $3,000 or $4,000? So getting back to Luis's point, you can go ahead and use materials that are a little bit cheaper. Overall, would you say that you probably ended up spending on finishing, maybe let's say $20,000-$30,000 more than what you would have spent if you used, let's say,
definitely, yeah,
cheaper materials?
100% for sure. If I count the flooring, even the type of paint, you go Benjamin Moore, there's a higher product of Benjamin Moore, and today it's paint on the wall. But you swim that extra mile, and I think the $20,000-$30,000 is probably the least.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you account, the front porch as well.
Makes sense.
I covered that. I didn't really need to cover that.
Luis did all flagstone in the front, so there's definitely materials is a big factor. Moving on to another point, for example, in terms of the layout, when we we're putting the house together, Luis did the plans, he shared the plans with me, we made adjustments. I really feel that we did an excellent layout, and if I had to redo everything again, I probably would do the exact same layout again. However, there was one buyer that came through the house and he made a comment to us, and he relayed the back area of the house. So the way that we have, the way that Luis built the kitchen area, it's basically completely vertical like that. And he showed us a way that we could have modified it that would have actually given us more space in the kitchen area, and also given us the possibility of making an eat-in in the kitchen. So this way, instead of having kitchen, living room, dining room, we would have had kitchen, eat-in breakfast area, living and dining room. So it would have given us an extra room, and I think that would have actually helped us a lot when the sale portion of the home came to be. So that's definitely one area that I feel for the next project we really got to focus. And I know that we focused on this one. It's not to say that we didn't think about it. I know that you changed the layout a bunch of times. I know that I made you change the layout of the basement, which Luis wasn't too happy about, but when it was all done, he was glad he did it. So we did exhaust all avenues to make sure we had the best product, but this was something that as a builder and also as a realtor, sometimes you try to do the best thing and you kind of let some things kind of slip through the cracks. So definitely something to change.
Absolutely. And adding to that, for example, because I have a detached garage at the back, let's say you're parking at the back, your main entrance is not usually the front. Actually my neighbors mentioned that a couple of times, like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. I go, I know, it's because I park at the back in my garage, and then I come in through the back doors. But for example, let's just say someone does want to rent, the basement apartment, which in this case, it does have a separate entrance. I actually don't have access besides those patio doors you see actually behind us. So, but the problem is you can't lock it, right? So I would have liked to kind of created something that allows me to enter through the back, lock it, secure it. So that would be kind of like, most likely I'd use the back entrance more than I would the front.
Definitely legitimate concerns. Moving on now to the sales aspect of the home. When it's like they say, you don't make your money when you sell the house, you make your money when you buy the house. When we purchased this home, we purchased it when Toronto real estate was at the highest peak, and we got an incredible deal for this property. So we made our money basically when we purchased the home. However, nobody anticipated the huge slowdown that the market would basically deliver over the year afterwards. Our target price for the house was a specific price. So after the home was built, we put the house on the market at the original price that we were going to put it at when the market was strong. Now, because of all of the quality and all of the finishes, and also one of the things that happened during the build is that Luis ended up putting a lot more things into the house than he was supposed to. So even though we had a certain target, the house was not supposed to be of this quality. He actually made it even more. So that's the reason why we actually stuck with the original listing price that we had in mind. Now, the problem with that was that it was a little bit high. Because we're in a buyer's market, we did feel that a lot of people were going to try to negotiate with us. So we did leave the price a little bit higher. When I say, guys, a little bit higher, we're not talking about $200,000 higher. We priced the property approximately $40,000, $50,000 higher than it possibly should have been. Right. But overall, we still sold the property. We staged the property. The property looked absolutely beautiful, and the market slowdown really did take a toll. And that's actually a big lesson to everybody who would possibly build a home or possibly do a project like this, that you need to consider the possibility of what happens if the market goes down? What happens if I have an unforeseen issue when it comes to the construction of the home? Because things can go wrong. You might have budgeted, you're gonna spend $400,000 on the job, and then it ends up costing you $450,000. Now, is that taking away from the margin? You always have to consider that. So Luis actually would tell you that one of the things that I always focused and told him when we were looking for homes is I said to him that you always have to think worst case scenario. And I always say, okay, best case scenario, we could possibly make this, but worst case scenario, this is exactly what's gonna happen. So that's one of the things that I always...
It's kind of like a safety factor you have to include. You don't know, nobody knows the way the market's gonna be in the year or 2 years from now. So adding a safety factor just gives you an extra playroom, a little comfort, just so that when things do go south, if they do go south, you still have that margin where you can, still, make your money back and win or whatever the case may be. But safety factor is a huge thing. It's people call it contingency, whatever the case may be. But be careful, and make sure you don't forget that, because, another one of the things is safety factor helps, because let's just say you plan to sell a house in 2 months, but the market's slow on now, it sells in 5-6 months. Because it's hard to qualify now, interest rates are higher, so that also helps. Carry costs.
This is a huge point, and this is one of my biggest struggles when I work with investors. That they work with very, very tight margins, and they're always thinking, oh well, I'll walk away with this much, and they're not thinking worst case scenario, but they're also thinking that they're gonna sell the house, let's say in a month or 2 months. They're always thinking of best case scenario, and things usually, there's always bumps along the road. And like you mentioned in the video where I surprised you with the sale of the home, Luis gave a tip to everybody, and the tip was that you have to be willing to go all the way. That's the most important part. And in order to go all the way, you have to have that backup in order to dig yourself out of a hole should you need to. So we're gonna wrap up the video. Luis, once again, thank you so much for being on the show. Before we go, do you wanna give everybody at home any sort of an additional tip or anything like that, that you're taking away from this project and you're bringing over to your next project that we're gonna be actually starting to film very, very soon for?
In terms of advice or anything, it's the same thing I've said before. It's always, get your team together, make sure you have a proper team that you can confide in. You're not a professional and you're not, for example, if you're a builder or framer, whatever it is, you can't consider yourself a professional in a realtor. You don't know the way the market is. You got to have a team, a strong team. You're a designer, you're a realtor, even your lawyer, the lawyer that dresses papers and stuff like that. Make sure you have a solid team because that's what's going to help you push, dig deep and get to the finish line.
And that's a great tip because you're full of great tips today, buddy. He should just do my job. It's definitely a great tip, guys, just because everybody, especially when it comes to renovations, another mistake that I always see them do is they try to do everything themselves. One of my mentors, he actually spoke to me and he didn't speak to me, but he taught me that the number one thing you should do is always trust the team that you're with, because once you trust them, then whatever they do for you, it's something that's already guaranteed and you don't have to think twice. And if you don't have to think twice, you can make quicker decisions and you can move forward a lot faster. So definitely an asset. So Luis, once again, thank you so much. I'm really excited to talk about the next project. Luis is going to be doing another house in the next month. And he's in the meantime of finalizing the plans, getting the building permits and everything. And we can't wait to start documenting the next process. We're going to try to go a little bit more in detail and show a little bit more of the construction process, which is something that everybody loves. And we got tremendous feedback on how much they love seeing the house go from nothing to something. So we're definitely going to try to, we're going to listen to all of you out there and we're going to try to give everybody what they want. So Luis, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Anybody that needs to do building permits, if you want to build a house, an addition, even something smaller like a bathroom or a kitchen.
Don't call me.
Don't call you.
I'm not the right way.
Contact Luis. He'll definitely be able to help you. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. In the meantime, have a great day and
thank you very much and take care.